Welcome to another episode of Little Talks, your weekly dose of marketing news and insights from Littlefield Agency.
Welcome back to not only our last episode of Season 2 of Little Talks, but our second annual podcast with the one and the only Trent Guyer from Grasshopper. Trent, welcome.
Insert. There it is.
Enough. You may sit. Thank you for setting up the curvy couch for me, too. I really like this.
I think this is, I will tell you, last year we were in David Littlefield's office, which is now under construction. Trent, I think it's very fitting
to bring the Grasshopper branded hard hat.
I love it.
Knock some walls down.
He gets my car and he just has it. It's wonderful. But I look at last year's setup. I look at last year's audio. I look at last year's everything. And it was our inaugural, but we've made some good strides in the last year. This is a little better. We've got poinsettias for God's sake.
I have literally waited a year to apologize to you on air for the terrible production quality that Sam made me put you through.
Well, it sounds like there's people actually watching now, so that's helpful.
We had to up the game. We had nowhere to go but up, really.
No, because your mom stopped watching.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trent was, from our 7 listeners to now a few hundred and sometimes the occasional 1,000. So if you're listening to us end of year during your holiday travels or as you wrap your work week before 2024, thank you, and thank you for being back. And we want to kick this off not only by welcoming Trent, but Trent, you've had a heck of a year in the sense of the last 12 months, travel, work, just everything going on in Grasshopper. Walk us through that landscape because it's flown by. And by flown, you've been on a lot of, you see what I did there?
That's pretty good.
What a segue.
I think I broke a personal record for air miles. We've always participated in a lot of trade shows, and we find that's the best hands-on way for anything.
Totally.
And so I got to represent our company in South Africa and in the UK a couple times, as well as some domestic shows.
South Africa.
Yeah, so that was pretty incredible. So to get to represent our company and our family is pretty special to me. And I didn't tell you this, but this week it'd be the 20th anniversary of my grandfather, our co-founder's passing.
Oh my gosh.
So it's I think about that a lot, and he was always like a hero to me. So,
oh my gosh!
And his picture is right outside my office. If you've seen that in that hallway there,
absolutely. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, really neat.
20 years.
20 years.
And I mean, this year from South Africa to the United Kingdom a couple of times to domestic shows. Is there one that stands out in particular? Did you love?
It's coming to Tulsa this week, right?
It's a good show here. So the big show for us is in Louisville, Louisville.
You said it right.
Louisville.
To the locals.
Equip Expo in October, and that show was big, and then it dwindled, and it has grown again, and it has reinvigorated, and it's incredible. And the energy of that show is amazing. If you measure it by inquiries, it was probably our best year ever this year. The interest has been incredible. The stand-on draws lots of demonstrations, people who want to ride it. It's been fantastic. It got us a magazine cover. That person on the magazine cover bought a unit. They told us their story about how great it was to compare it to other brands and blew everything away. And they were sold on it. So it was really neat.
That is so neat.
When you get to talk to those people, that's what makes your job rewarding. We sit here and we try to build systems out or whatever, but when you talk to the real people, that's what makes it all work.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And you had not told me that story before. Yeah. I mean, that really is remarkable. And not only has Trent been all over the world, domestically, internationally, you're making webinar appearances. You're down here in Tulsa on your podcast, and I think it's important for those that do actively listen to us. A few weeks ago, we gave Trent a shout out because he did a phenomenal job on this Master B2B webinar. Walk us through some of your points and just what you spoke about. And there were some really interesting, so many implications that we had our annual offsite yesterday. And we had a large conversation about the future of e-commerce and what does that mean for B2B brands and our business as an agency. But I'd love for you to give a recap.
That's a great webinar. You can reach out to us and we'll get you a link for it. It's worth watching. And there were about 5 to 7 predictions for 2024. We might speak on these a little bit. Please. Data being one of those. I was asked to speak specifically on Amazon because our company is doing that right now, and we do it for various reasons, mostly to reach the customer that we maybe can't normally reach through a dealership because of their drive time to a dealership or after hours or that sort of thing. So it was about how Amazon is maybe getting into the B2B space. And I spoke specifically on, and I gave an example, 2 examples. I said, let's look at the FXJ 7000 and the FXJ 6000. If I have the FXJ 5000, then it must be the same as those other ones, and so I can buy parts for it and it'll fit the same way. And that's where people find that's not the case. Printer cartridges, we think is a good example that we can all relate to. And so we have most of our returns either come from that fitment issue. So that's where I come back to and say that's the big issue is fitment, but also just the returns and people buy for other brands that aren't there. So they think because
Universal
Grasshopper makes mower blades and my other colored mower needs mower blades, that it's all the same. So we find that our returns usually come from those sort of situations. And I also spoke to, and the example I gave in there is I said, I couldn't sleep very well. I was preparing for this webinar, and I bought a basketball goal that mounts in concrete. I bought a washer and dryer combo, and I bought a dump trailer for my yard. At 3 a.m. Point being because I can.
You can.
Mm-hmm.
And what's great is I can return all that stuff. So the way that comes back to fitment is that say a company like ours likes to be able to reach those customers, but the reverse logistics of like maybe taking some of those big items back gets pretty difficult. And so that's where fitment is important. You got to get your listings accurate, but also it still isn't nearly as good as a Grasshopper dealer or any dealership of a product who knows that product firsthand and has a bit of that tribal knowledge that we might speak on later too for selling those items.
So that's a very, very good point. The B2B brands that we work with, that we talk to on a new business, that you never want to remove the dealer from the situation. The dealer-customer relationship is so essential, right? And dealers have such an amazing knowledge, right, of your product and what's right for the customer, no matter what their needs are. As you took this plunge into, how many years have you been on Amazon now?
3
years.
Complete full years, yeah.
And Trent alluded to, from a trajectory standpoint, it's just getting more and more because we continue to shift more in that e-com world. But as you made that move, it's not that you're cutting out the dealers, it's more convenience.
I'm going to stop you. I wouldn't call it move. I would call it addition or maybe even a gap fill.
Love it. Okay.
Not a move.
No, I think that's a good correction. As you continue to see e-commerce go in that trajectory, but yet you're still loyal to your dealers. You're still working with your dealers. Talk to us the process through that, because there's so many B2B brands. It's a conundrum, right? Like it's tricky.
Oh, we could go so many ways with that conversation.
Gosh,
yeah. My first thought when you said that was we were going to talk about personalization today, because that's what we spoke on last year.
Yes.
In this,
your
was my prediction.
2023 prediction.
Right.
And you nailed it. You really did.
And you can thank AI maybe for what some of that personalization is now. But I really think the initial, very first personalization would be dealerships in person, back to that tribal knowledge I mentioned a minute ago. That's real personalization where, hey, Bob, I talked to you last week, or you're here. I know that you own a 725 Grasshopper with a 61-inch deck. And I know that you like to collect, so I know you want this blade. And I know that for that deck, that's this part number. So let me go get that for you.
Love it.
That's personalization the old school way, right?
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Because you have to scale up in your business, or because you're trying to be more places with maybe fewer resources, whether that's less labor or more products are out there and you just need to service all those people, then that's maybe where this Amazon has come in and reaches more people. Because that's really what we're selling. We're selling spare parts.
Totally.
To be a customer of ours on Amazon, you have to be a customer of ours off of Amazon.
Absolutely.
We don't sell whole goods. So that's probably a big difference there for us.
And this is going to sound a little dumb. I'm the one that asks the dumb questions every week.
No, it's usually me, buddy. Don't worry.
Obviously, it's the internet's hugest marketplace, but was there something specific as a B2B brand that made you think, yeah, Amazon's a good lineup here? What kept you from kind of going another route and forcing folks to come through another system, like maybe your website or something else? What made Amazon kind of the attractive option there?
Well, we are building out a website for e-commerce that we expect to launch maybe in about a year or so after some initial testing with our dealers.
Awesome.
We liked Amazon initially because stocking up an Amazon warehouse is sort of like stocking up a dealer. So it wasn't as taxing on our warehouses to do a single SKU order
Okay.
It was more like putting together a stock order or a big bulk warehouse order. And so that's what got our attention first, because we didn't know how could we handle that from a labor standpoint. And then from there, we've sort of migrated to doing those, stock up the warehouse, but also shipping parts from our warehouse direct to the.
So it wasn't just that, like, well, everyone, when you're going to buy online, the first thing you think of is Amazon. It had, like, it made sense.
It made sense. Of course, you say that, and it is one of the biggest search engines, just like YouTube's a search engine.
Yeah.
So that's where everybody goes for everything first.
So one more thing in this webinar sense, they talked about the evolvement of what they coined the CDO. Okay, what traditionally has been the chief digital officer is now the chief data officer. Data, whatever you prefer.
GIF.
Trent, talk to us in the sense of, that's a great example of the personalization, human to human, right? What has data given you the ability to do in the sense of personalization, his prediction last year, and what has that looked like throughout 2023 this year? And
Well,
Ruth, you and Mike play a large part in that.
So we spoke last year specifically about, we started at least with those dasher boards in NHL and how they were able to personalize ads. Whether you were in Boston, you saw Dunkin'. Whether you were in Vegas, you saw a hotel or something. I think what we're seeing there now is being able to personalize recommendations on a website. Historically, on a web, you might see customers also bought this, and that was very generic to. They looked at the company's overall sales on their website. It had nothing to do with you or anybody else. It was just like, this is what we're seeing selling the most. So now we're seeing a lot more of that personalization. So the way we're using it, and we'll get to that in our parts website when we start selling in the next year or so, where we're really seeing it. So I spoke earlier about these trade shows, and taking leads at trade shows has been really good for us, but cultivating those leads and maturing them through the funnel takes a lot of time, takes a lot of resources, whether that's somebody at a dealership to follow up, somebody at our office to coordinate that with our sales rep and the dealer to remind them to do that. So we've been using HubSpot that you and Mike have been building out so much, so we can let those leads mature in the system, and by the time they're getting delivered to a dealer now, we can just about guarantee that this is one worth calling. Maybe before we used to call all of them and find that 10% were worth, well, very few would answer the phone. 10% would actually maybe be worth talking to.
Seriously.
And that's as you talk about personalization moving forward for like those parts, I mean, that's where that personalized data is going to come from, is being stored up there. So you're ahead of the game. It's not like, hey, we want to do this next month. Well, great. Do you have the data? You've been doing it for a while.
Right. And the great thing about data is the power to analyze that data.
Yeah.
And that's where in our office, we're trying to do a lot more digitization. We used to paperwork in the truest sense. Everything was on paper.
Yeah.
And so whether a dealer would file a sales claim with us or whatever, that was all done on paper with all the backup invoice and all those things. So that's now being provided to us digitally. So you're spending less time maybe transferring data to a spreadsheet or something, because you can bring it in automatically. So now instead of retyping, you're actually able to analyze it and maybe forecast better. So that's what the beautiful thing about good data.
I think
data has to be good.
Mike and I have a couple of projects that are helping with that too.
Yeah.
Well, and just
it's fun. It's fun to work on.
The efficiencies, the time saved. I mean, it's remarkable. Understanding certain triggers, user interactions. Like you said, that 10% that's ready to buy, but the 90% that's not, but you don't have a bunch of people calling. I mean, it really is. It's amazing, and there's that personalized aspect. So
here's a great comparison. So we would run on national TV, cable TV, and we would, before that, in the days before that, you might get a call here and another call later or whatever. So you could do a 1-to-1 ratio really easy. But we would run a national TV spot, and we'd get flooded with calls all at once. So we'd know when that spot ran. Problem is, when you only have your 5 or 6 people available to take calls, and you've got 50 to 60 people calling, how do you do that? And they all go to a voicemail, and you try to call them back, but you had them captive for that moment. You may never get them back. With HubSpot or any lead generation that's digitized, they all come in at the same time. That's fine, and then they can all marinate at the same time, and they can all move through the funnel at different times and become a qualified prospect and then a customer.
That's such a good example. I mean, it really is. It's unbelievable. And it only, I mean, so we look at the last year, Trent, from your travels to webinars to personal and professional and AI, right? We talk about just the power of technology. AI is, we right before we went on air here, we talked about artificial intelligence. It's not new. It's been around for a long time. And so your thoughts just in the world of marketing and what it does to you, any thoughts there, or just approaches, differences? I mean,
I think there's a difference, at least in my mind, between AI and artificial intelligence.
Love it.
I think these days everybody says AI. ChatGPT is AI.
Yes.
All these other things are AI, and AI is going to either kill us or help us be good in the world. I don't know. Somewhere in between is where we hope to land, I suppose.
Fingers crossed.
Or actually just be on the good side,
Yes.
I suppose. But I think a lot, the artificial intelligence part, I think, has been around a long time. And I boil that down real simply to even maybe running a macro or a shortcut on your keyboard. That's a bit of an artificial intelligence where you're artificially using something that's recorded or smart. How do I think that fits in? I think so many ways. You can write copy quicker, whether that's, we're seeing it in e-commerce a lot where you can write your descriptions a lot faster. You can pull together maybe your fitment stuff. So here's a perfect real world example I just used last week. So I've got more parts that I want to add to Amazon, or also get ready for our main website that we're going to launch. And the way we have fitment currently listed, to put that together and say a spreadsheet is pretty antiquated. I have to look down the list and, okay, the first year I saw that was here and the last year was here, and so put together as a range. I used ChatGPT and I helped write a formula that looks at all of that, and I could have never written it, but I told what I wanted to do and it kicked it out exactly. And so that saved me so much time. So now I can turn that over to someone who's less maybe familiar with our product in our office and can just pull that, who's a very organized person but just doesn't know the product necessarily, and can pull all that data and put it together and help write fitment.
That is awesome. And there's so many people that aren't doing that. I mean, the efficiencies, it's incredible. Good for you. When I was in your office last month ago, you showed me some cool stuff and how you're just, at certain times, it's pulling certain data. And it's, I mean, you're writing and instructing. And I mean, it was really neat.
You're a coder now. You do code.
I guess so.
Hell yeah, he is. He showed Brock and I were like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal.
I was talking to a coder, some people we do some website work with, and they said we were pulling our hair out over a particular project, and the code was really long, and we wrote 3 sentences on ChatGPT, and it kicked out code this long that did the exact same thing we needed to do that we could have never figured out. It's just amazing that it's just amazing that it's tapping into all of this knowledge that's out there. So we're playing around with some Chat GPT type technology for helping service our customers once they're post purchase. So we get a lot of service calls and people have some questions, and many times it's a unique to their model sort of thing that you need to speak to a real person with tribal knowledge.
There you go.
All that knowledge, that's what the industry calls out, having that knowledge up here, not necessarily written down, not necessarily cataloged somewhere. But we have a lot of different instruction PDFs or Word docs or whatever. We have some of these instructions written down, different things. And so I use Chat to a service that specifically uses Chat, so I'm paying a monthly service for it. And it goes and it catalogs all of that and allows me to create a chat bot on my site that's like a search.
You have a customized knowledge base.
It's exactly what it is. And then it only looks at my data and doesn't go out. I could tell it that if it can't find it here, it'd go somewhere else. But it also cites where it found it, so it has some credibility to it.
That's to me the next evolution of AI in 2024 is the credibility layer. Why did you return this?
Yes.
Where did you get this information? And more transparency with that. I think that's probably what keeps AI in the discussion next year.
Okay, so write that down.
I was going to say, right? We've got that noted. Look at you. You're throwing out predictions.
I've got a couple.
So here's the thing. You look at a year ago in the space we were in and the audio quality, which we apologize.
Good Lord, beat me over the head with it.
We talk about the ever-evolving, fast-changing pace of this industry that the three of us sign up for every day in the B2B world and the agency life, and et cetera. Last year, we were not talking about ChatGPT at this time. It was around,
heard of it.
but I had not heard of it until January. And it's funny, if we had done the podcast 3 weeks later, we'd be like, hi, holy cow, what are your thoughts on this? Trent, as we look into 2024, what's your bet? What are we looking at?
I still think it comes back to a little bit to what we said earlier. Quality data is so important.
I couldn't agree more.
Because that old adage, bad data in, bad data out, is so true. And if you feed it garbage, you're going to get garbage. You're not going to be able to analyze. You're not going to do anything. You have you said credibility. That's a big one right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's where it's going to go.
Well, and you bring up it's perfect and timely because this cookieless world that we're about to be in.
It's here. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have more and more conversations about it. And here's the thing, the B2B companies that we see out there, and they come to us and they're sitting on data that they don't know whether it's good or bad, right? It's a lot that we see this a lot. It's amazing what you guys have done over the years in cultivating great data. And there's always opportunities to do that more, which is what you guys are doing every day. But to leverage good data to build on that, it is easier said than done, in my opinion. And for you to be looking ahead of that, for you guys to be doing what you and Mike have been doing over the last year, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like you said, we're living in this world, and if you don't have it, how in the world are you going to personalize and customize that message to your target audience?
Right. And I'd say the great thing for us is we're getting buy-in from all the parties involved in our company. And you need that for any of this to work. Mm-hmm. Whether that's if you want to call it your C-suite, or your VPs,
for sure.
Whatever. Your frontline people are using this every day. They have to buy in because it is a culture shift from what they are used to doing. Wow. And when they realize, and I could speak to a specific project we recently did, and we had some people who were like, well, I've done it this way for a long time. I know this works. You're coming along and you're doing this, and that's going to save time. I don't buy it. Or I want to buy it, but I don't believe it yet because I'm really nervous this could really, and it could either save us months or it could push us way back months. Mm-hmm. And it worked out great. And so we have believers now on it. And so I think we'll be able to just start saving a lot more time. So you can either do more or do more with less, too.
No, it's so true. We had a big topic of conversation yesterday, adaptability, the ability to adapt in those situations. And it's taken a little bit of a leap, right? Could do this, It could be, but that's amazing. Kudos to you. Roop, any other predictions you have?
Oh, related to marketing or in general?
How about construction? Will it get done in 2024?
Okay, I'm glad you said this, Trent. No, I don't think we're done before February 15th.
You going Feb 15?
I'm going Feb 15.
I'll take the under. If I lose, I'll buy you dinner.
I should have got a dinner this year anyhow.
Yeah, you do. That's not me.
Do we get steak if we hit 2,000 viewers? You were really excited about this.
That's
to finish
right.
off the year with this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You definitely get steak tonight, too. I mean, just being down here. by the way, Trent, 4 hours down.
3 hours in a gas car.
3 hours in a
4
gas
hours
car,
in a
4
Tesla.
hours in a Tesla.
Yep.
You have worked for your steak tonight. We have a great night ahead. We were lucky we got to see Chelsea Clement over lunch. And you lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I've seen her a couple times while she's been out, but yeah, I miss her. I miss Chelsea.
It's good. Trent and I have dinner with Chelsea, and Denny is kind enough to not only come with us, but he's taking tomorrow off. So we're going to have a fabulous evening. Have you missed Chelsea in the last couple of months? I have missed
Chelsea, and she has earned this evening.
She has.
Being a mom of three,
yes,
is quite a feat.
Yes.
I am married to one of those.
That's right.
And they are special.
No doubt.
And we'll probably talk some baseball too with Dave. So.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a little uncomfortable with this Chelsea love fest that's going on. So let's tap it down.
Should we tap it down?
Yeah, tap it down a little bit.
Trent, thank you. This is awesome. Our second annual. The third will be here before we know it. For those listeners that have stuck around with us for another year, this is the end of season 2, and we can't wait until season 3 to wrap it with Trent from Grasshopper. We're very fortunate. We're very lucky. We wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from the agency.
We'll see you the first week in January.
And we will see you the first week in January.
Brenda, take it away.
Brenda, we'll see ya.
Adios.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap. We hope you've enjoyed our little chat and found ways to grow your own marketing strategies. Remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and follow us on social media @Littlefield Agency.